All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second session of the day, which is Leading with Technology and Innovation for an Equal World. Pardon me, but technology is failing us a little bit. So Rabia's voice may be a little low. So I would request everyone to turn up your volumes for this session. Uh, Rabea, who you've already been introduced to, who welcomed you all in the morning, over to you and your panelists, Rabea.
Thank you very, very much. I do hope that everybody can hear me. I would like from you a thumbs up if that's the case. Okay, wonderful. We not only have a technical glitch, we also have a missing participant who will join us a little later. Our member of parliament will tune in a moment from now. So now we are the three ladies into this session, to which I am warmly welcoming all of you. It's good to have you back. I've been following, just like you, probably the previous session, and it was very, very interesting. I'm sure we match up to this with ours. So, leading with technology and innovation for a more equal world. Those terms you will hear throughout the session: equality and technology, challenges and advancing women. This is what we center about. And of course, you may ask yourself, why do you have a technology session when we're talking about leading with grit and grace? Well, we want to find out how women can benefit from technology. We all know that you cannot stop the technology advancements, but how do we turn them to our advantage, to women advantages? We want to explore the opportunities and that are offered by technology and innovation for our economy and for our society, and last but not least, of course, for women. Our dear panelists will help us to understand how technology and innovation can prepare you, us, to take on a more active leadership role by overcoming those obvious technology obstacles. But before I introduce our three panelists, a quick note on CAS, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I have introduced us before, but if you have not come across our work in your country, and we do have 120 offices, or through our global publications, check them out on our website, www.cas.de, and on our social media channels, CAS Japan. We have a huge variety of programs around the world, and I am confident that there are plenty of subjects and opportunities to see you again and to cooperate with you. Housekeeping remarks first, before I go into the introduction. Of course, that will be done in a moment. You will hear initial statements by our speakers, and then I will take the opportunity as a moderator to address a few questions. But I really encourage you to use the chat box and to give us your opinions, your questions. I will be able to read them, and I will make sure that we keep the time to address your concerns to our three speakers. I also promise to, of course, stop the session on time so that we don't disadvantage those who are coming after us. So now to the ladies, this is an all-women session, and I don't have those sessions very often, I have to say. Most of the time I'm the only woman on an all-men panel, so I'm really enjoying this, and so should you. I like to introduce to you our distinguished speakers. So we have Ronja Kemmer, who will be joining us in a little while, the member of the German Parliament, who is a very important voice in our Parliament and driving the digital agenda, as well as, of course, being one of the few female lawmakers that our Parliament has, and also that figure needs to be reconsidered and worked on. So Ronja, she studied economics in Germany, in Sweden, and in Italy, and she has been a member of the parliament since 2014 already. She's a member of the Committee on Education, Research and Technology Assessment, of the Committee on Digital Agenda, and furthermore, a substitute member of the Committee of Economic Affairs and Energy. So you can hear she is the right voice for us today. She is also the spokesperson of the CDU-CSU, the leading party's study commission of artificial intelligence, social responsibility and economics. Moving over to Nina Brandau, the one that you are seeing in my window. Nina is an education policy officer at Bitkom in Germany. Well, this is the biggest German digital association, and she represents more than 2,700 companies in the digital economy. And along with her activities in the field of school, vocational and higher education, she is in charge of the topic Women in Tech. Nina obtained an Erasmus Mundus Master in Euroculture, Society, Politics and Culture in Global Context, and I'm sure that her views are very much appreciated today and very needed. Coming to Mouna Aouri Langendorf, Cas knows Mouna for quite a while now. We have the pleasure of implementing a regional project with her. Mouna is a serial tech entrepreneur, a civil engineer with over 20 years of experience in IoT, structural engineering and design, digital platforms, architecture, and corporate innovation. Mouna is much more than this. She has a passion about technology and a desire to see women fully participate in the new digital economy, and that led her to found Woomentum. Woomentum is an organization that provides women entrepreneurs and women-owned SMEs in Southeast Asia with access to mentoring, to funding opportunities, to grow and scale their businesses. And Woomentum and Mouna is based in Singapore. So I would leave it with this, and looking at the time, I like to start our session now, and we'll hand over to you, Mouna, being the first of our speakers. So floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm so excited, and I am truly honored to be part of this conference. Obviously, through my work with Woomentum, this mission and this cause of empowering and women and women entrepreneurs in particular is very, very close to my heart. And that's the reason why I dedicated now my almost full time my work with Woomentum. And so I hope I can share a little bit of insights and also look forward to some of the questions. And I've been listening to the session, so it's been really, really insightful. So thank you for having me. I think we will be sharing a few slides for my session. I just wanted to kind of have a few visuals to support what I am talking about. Thank you, Rashid. We can move on to the next slide, actually. So I wanted to really start my talk by sharing exciting news. Just 2 days ago, Lucy, a new fintech startup that is founded by a female entrepreneur, has announced it raised capital from several investors. As you can see in the slide, it's been announced a pre-seed round of $360,000 US. And, among these investors are 18 women from around the world. And this startup aims to be a digital bank, which is also called neobank, that understands women entrepreneurs' needs by using data analytics and machine learning and all that technology to improve the loan approval process that is done by conventional, traditional financial institutions, and hence help more women access loans. Another one exciting news that I wanted to share with you at this point is also great news for Southeast Asian women-owned businesses, is the launch of a $50 million debt fund called Beacon Fund. And this fund will invest in women-owned businesses, but also in businesses that benefit women, products and services that benefit women. And so these businesses are what we call the missing middle. They are usually underserved by venture capital and private equity because of a mismatch in the growth expectations by these investment companies. And so the fund solves that problem. And this is exciting because it also comes with a full technical assistance to the companies that it supports, with a customized approach and support for women entrepreneurs. Take, for instance, leadership and executive coaching, confidence building. And so this is particularly important since women often have to navigate, as you know, male-dominated business environments, and also have very specific gender challenges that are directly impacting their performance and their level of confidence as a businesswoman and also as a leader. We can move to the next one, Rashid. And so news like these, I thought I would like to start with that really positive note. And, these news are becoming more and more frequent. And these are really, really good for the industry. And it sends the message that women can innovate, and women can raise capital for their company, and women can also set up and manage large funds to invest in other women. And this is something to really, really celebrate. I know that we are all focused on COVID-19 and the crisis, and it almost counterintuitive to almost want to celebrate, but I think this is something that we need to acknowledge even in the midst of the crisis, because it will even help more women navigate the crisis. And so we've made so much progress, especially in the last decade. But of course, the journey to equality is still very long. And despite all the progress that we've been doing, we are all still seeing disparities in access to financing and in the ability to scale the businesses compared to male-led and owned businesses. But in my opinion, there has never been a better time for women entrepreneurs to strive. Truly believe it. As we all come together and collaborate, and in fact, this conference is the perfect testimony on why, how ready we are actually to build momentum for that progress that we are seeing. Next. And so, with Woomentum's work and many other organizations that we are collaborating and partnering with, what we learned is that there is a huge window of opportunity to keep momentum going. And a good way to do that is to help women businesses leverage the new opportunities that technological advances are creating. And one of them is digitalization. And the belief here is that if women-owned businesses or women-led businesses, if they are equipped with digitalization and innovation capabilities, if we all work together for them to be equipped with that, they can build more sustainable and profitable businesses. They can empower more women and their communities, and they can stimulate greater social and digital economic growth. In fact, next, Rashid, thank you. In fact, the big opportunity in Southeast Asia is the digital economy. So it is predicted that it will be a $300 billion industry by 2025. And we want to make sure that women entrepreneurs who are owning and operating businesses in the region fully participate in it. It is almost like it's not optional. If we want to empower and we want women to succeed, they need to take part of this digital economy revolution. Otherwise, their businesses will have a very hard time to stay relevant, that become very obsolete in a very short time, and they will have a very hard time to scale and catch up as we move very, very fast with this. And so in Southeast Asia, it is widely recognized that SMEs are the backbone of the economy. And so it stands, I mean, everybody wins. It so stands the benefit from its SMEs embracing digitalization. In fact, in ASEAN, a group of 10 states in Southeast Asia, there is about, let me just check my facts, 6.8 million women entrepreneurs that are currently 68 million women entrepreneurs who are currently operating their businesses that are really ready for digitalization. And as Rabea earlier mentioned, we have been working with CAS very closely on a regional big research project. And also in the previous session, I heard one of the speakers, Sanjay, saying that, you know, gender data is very, very important. And this is why research is so important for us to pursue and in depth. To collect that type of data on gender. And so qualitative research, in-depth interviews, in-depth assessments of businesses, how women-owned businesses, on how they're working, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities is very, very important. And so we've been working in Indonesia, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Malaysia concurrently in researching among women-owned businesses. And interestingly, despite the language differences, the cultural differences, most of the challenges that they have been facing are very similar. Next. And so we interviewed women from, I think we need to go to the next slide, Rashid, thank you. Next. So we interviewed over 30 subsectors from the region, and what we looked at was what we looked at was to measure how they are adopting and leveraging the new opportunities that digitalization is offering them on 3 pillars: access to financing, access to business networks and learning, and improving operational efficiency and productivity. These are 3 very, very important pillars. And of course, we looked into the COVID-19 crisis management. And what we found out, I'm very, very excited to, to say that, to share these findings, because it's important for us to understand what are the challenges of these women entrepreneurs in terms of adopting their technology. First, in terms of access to financing, the very good news is that there are many, many alternative financing models that are enabled by digitalization that are coming up in the region. And Lucy is just one example of them. It's just, Lucy was founded by a woman. That's why we are here to celebrate this innovation by women for women. The second one, access to business networks and skills. We have found out that actually women are accessing more efficiently knowledge through online portals, through e-learning, through even social media, YouTube. And now with the wide mobile penetration and internet connectivity, women are accessing much faster and much more efficiently resources that they couldn't reach before. And so for business management and operational efficiency, the adoption is still very low despite the availability of many systems. Next. And so here, in terms of challenges, we found many challenges and reasons why women entrepreneurs are not leveraging as much as they should, or they're not unlocking the potential of digitalization to play it into their benefit. 3 main reasons that I put together to share with you that were most common to the 4 countries and all across all sectors that we talk to. One is lack of awareness. some of the digital tools and new opportunities that digitalization is creating, most of women entrepreneurs are not aware. So there, later we will discuss the recommendations, and later in the session, I think this is one very important challenge to address. The second one is lack of time. As we have talked throughout the sessions, women have to still take responsibilities for the family, for the elderly, that men usually don't, and that hinders their chances, their performance basically in the business. And so the third one is the socio-cultural stereotype. Of course, we have seen heard many women say that men don't take them seriously when they are in a meeting, or when they are doing some negotiations or talking to suppliers or distributors. And very often they have to bring their male project manager to really do the conversation, and the business owner will be just accompanying them. So these are some of the opportunities and challenges that digitalization is bringing in the region and that we're looking into. And we're very excited to see that many organizations, private and public and nonprofit, are coming together to collaborate in order to help women entrepreneurs access those opportunities and overcome their challenges. So that's it for my opening remark. Thank you, Rabea, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much, Mouna. You sound very optimistic, I have to say, and I was glad to hear this, because we also discussed a lot of challenges, and I do wonder, or when we did our project, I wonder, isn't technology and all the technology advancing just adding another burden to the many obstacles that women actually face when they build their SMEs? Because as you say, they have to struggle with families, with recognition, and so forth. But before we go into your details, and I listened very well, we will discuss your recommendations later on as well. I would like to give the floor to Nina to hear from her the initial statement on her take, of course, of technology opportunities for women. We may hear something about the gender gap that we need to discuss with you, Nina. But before that, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rabea, and thank you also, Mouna, for the very interesting insights. Yeah, I also want to shift the perspective a bit. Of course, we're representing the German digital ecosystem, so this might be a good and interesting view how the digitalization and equality are actually already handled in Germany or not handled. Before looking into the opportunities that technology actually brings for equality, I first want to give you a little insight into how the actual status is in the digital economy in Germany, and also why we actually do need women in technology. Yeah, in Germany, we made a study last year, and it showed that there are only 17% female IT specialists in German enterprises, which shows that there's still a long way to go. Additionally to that, we even have more than 100,000 open IT positions in Germany. So this also shows there is a very big need for IT specialists. And even if there are a lot of women in big digital companies, they're often not in key positions, in leading positions, and also in the technology positions. Looking into the female founders and into the startup ecosystem, it gets even lower. The last numbers from 2019 show that there are only 15.1% female founders in Germany. So there is quite a way to go still. And I think it's important to mention that, of course, there is like this ethical and social question that we need to include women in this in this field, but it's also an economic question. There are a lot of studies that actually show that diverse teams do have higher outcomes and are more productive and more successful in the end. And also just the integration of women is not only a possibility to actually cover the high amount of open positions in this sector, but also is an opportunity to actually include new competences and new skills in the sector, because this is how innovation is actually driven, by bringing in new perspectives, new thoughts, and this is what needs to be done to actually broaden the horizon and also to push forward technology. We already talked about the gender gap, and in this context, I really want to focus also on the gender data gap, that we actually, if they're like, this is also this aspect of women drive innovation through bringing new competences and skills, but also if women are not participating in the innovation or in the production of new technologies, these technologies will be based on quite male factors, and the female sides will be lacking and will again produce a big gap also in society where the products sometimes are often used. How can we actually deal or tackle this issue? There are a lot of course, and I guess we will discuss a lot of these questions later, but in the scope of the digital economy, of course, it's very important to also have a cultural change in companies and also get used to more flexible and agile working structures, because technology can be used, for example, for job sharing models, so that actually women and men can work part-time even in leading positions, and there are a lot of tools that actually comfort this and make it possible to share jobs and still make processes work smoothly. This is of course one thing. And then Mouna already mentioned it, the networking, which is very important, which we always find out again, that women need visibility and women need to get connected with each other. And of course, this is also a thing that can be enabled by technology, by different tools that actually make it easier for each and every woman, also globally, to interact and to get visible and to actually interfere in the discourse. So yeah, leaving it by this, I'm very much looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Nina. And before Ronja is joining, which is only a few minutes away or seconds away, I want to come back to a few points that you have raised. You have touched upon something very, very crucial, and that is really the educational factor. So I'm asking myself, and probably many others are asking themselves the same question out there: whose fault is it really that we are so behind in not only taking IT jobs, but being obviously interested in IT jobs, because we wouldn't have the openings if it was the center of our interest. What can be done on that front? Is it the upbringing? Is it us parents having to ask ourselves, how can we enable our girls? Is it the schools? Is it the school subjects that we need to address? You also talked about cultural environment. That again has something to do with raising our children, pointing out opportunities, hinting them to those. What is the discussion right now on that subject, on education? How does that help? Or how does it hinder, on the contrary?
Yeah, I think education is actually the key, because as you already mentioned, this is where girls either get in touch with things or not. And of course, it depends also on the upbringing, but I guess schools are really an important factor, because every child is going to school, and this is not where like social backgrounds are different. So there is really the opportunity to actually have a good impact on the children. And this is why we also see it very necessary that all children, doesn't matter if boys or girls, actually have or get a sufficient STEM education. And this also includes IT skills, and not only IT skills, but also the understanding of how our digital society actually works and what happens with data, what happens, like how does the internet even work, all these questions. And this is the point where like girls must be as included as boys to actually get interested in the things, because I guess this is what we all know. We start to study something or start to focus on things next to school that we get in touch with, and this is the opportunity to actually get in touch with these issues. Yeah.
There's another issue that we're noticing, and it may be it plays in the hands of the obstacles that you were describing, making skills visible or being visible themselves in order to advance careers in technology fields. But isn't it so that COVID has expedited that obstacle and played into our hands, that with all the home office and teleworking possibilities, women can be so much more flexible and really balance much better their time between jobs and family engagements. And I think, Mouna, here you come in again. The same probably is possible for SMEs. You know, previously, probably we felt we need to be present, we need to be on the jobs. But now with all those technology advancements, maybe a few more things can be done remotely, so that the gap between family engagement and the gap between job engagement is maybe brought together a bit closer than before. Does that help? Did COVID help in that respect? Or will the new attitude toward teleworking will help? Maybe Nina and Mouna?
I think Mouna is still muted.
Thank you, Rabea. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, so in terms of COVID, it's a very interesting dilemma. COVID did something very, very interesting, is to accelerate trends that were already there. So the adoption of digital technology, let's say the Zoom, and before it was also Skype and the WhatsApp, FaceTime, and there was a trend around women, working from home, taking care of kids, and also still making their meetings from home. But at the same time, what COVID did, especially for mothers and parents in general, is that they had to homeskill their children, school their children, and spend more time caring for the children. And so suddenly they found themselves with less time. So every time we go on lockdown, women are really severely, in a way, affected. And I have experienced it firsthand through our service providers, our researchers who are dispatched around 4 countries, where they said, I'm very sorry, for the next month, I can't take on any contract because I am taking care of the children at home and I don't have a quiet corner to work. And it really hit me. It's like, wow, you actually need the money. How can you walk away from a contract like this? And so that's a little bit how I experienced COVID for the firsthand in the work that we are doing. But when it comes to digital adoption, it's really amazing. I mean, we've seen it. We're seeing this conference happening online, which is unheard of. Would be unheard of, just a year ago before COVID. Everyone wanted to meet face to face. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Rabea. Now you are on mute. Yeah.
You described what we all experience right now, but let me address that question to Nina again and maybe have a further outlook. we all experience what Mouna described right now, all of us, probably here in the room and out there in the sphere, but I am still convinced that when it comes to career and when it comes to using our skills to a better advantage, that the aftermath of the pandemic may have helped in that respect.
Yeah, I guess.
To also maybe bridge that digital gap we still have to talk about.
I guess the show, I'm completely with Mouna that right now there are also a lot of studies that actually show that women are the ones like suffering the most from this home office situation. On the long side, yeah, I guess this could be an opportunity actually for women to maybe get a job offer in a different city and still being able to take it without moving there and like moving the whole family there. But I guess it's also not just about the visibility of women in general, but it's also about like making networks also with men and to also get them into the boat. And, I guess this is also something we shouldn't forget about, that of course women are like more likely to work if like work is flexible and if they can work digitally, but in general it's also a lot about networking, and it might be also very helpful still to do this in real and not only yeah, in women networks, but actually in very different networks.
Thank you very much, Nina. And here we have on board Ronja Kemmer, our Member of Parliament, joining us. Ronja, you're muted. I warmly welcome you in our all-female panel. I just said that doesn't happen very often. I'm sure it doesn't happen to you very often either. Exactly. So I have introduced you already, and without losing more time, I hope you're up and ready to go for your initial statement. We are missing indeed your component. We have covered now the career option. We have covered the possibilities and the burden that the pandemic poses onto us. And we have also discussed how we can use technology to our advantage, but we are of course missing the public policy angle, and this is where you come in. You know what, and how can politicians help that debate? How do you help us, or yourself for that matter, because the numbers of the parliament coming to female members have gone low as well. And if we don't have women in the parliament, how are you actually taking decisions that concern us and that are on our advantage? But without further ado, Ronja, you have the floor. And thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rabea, and to all the others for having me today. And I really have to apologize for being so late. I'm really, really sorry. But yeah, it's how it sometimes is in daily life as a politician. So unfortunate, it might be a little bit representative. But yeah, I made it and I'm glad to be here. So yeah, talking about the political framework, I think there are some different fields we really have to consider. So first of all, of course, as you already said, we need female participation in the parliaments. We need role models. And I think this is true, or very true, for us as politicians, but of course also we need the role models for the IT sector, so that in the end more young women decide to go that path and decide to take that step for a personal career. So maybe starting with politics and what is the actual, or the situation nowadays in Germany. We really have to say it's not a process that is going on automatically. It's not a process that is just by, okay, just pass some time and then female power will be there. It's not like that. Of course, we have a female chancellor. Of course, now we have Ursula von der Leyen in the European Union. But if we see the German parliament, as you said, the share or the amount of female politicians declined in the last or with the last election, and maybe a little bit different what I would have said 10 years ago. Now I say with the age of 31, we need a quota in politics. I'm quite sure we cannot make any really big steps for in the right direction without a quota. So I think this is a discussion taking place not only of course in Germany, but in many countries all over the world. But I think we really have to maybe push a little bit more and be a little bit more fast, because many men often say, as I said before, okay, it's just a process that needs time, but how long do we want to wait? Is it like 50 or 100 years more? I don't want to wait like that long. And it's not true that there are now women willing to participate or also to be members of parliament. So I think we really have to have more political agenda and actions in that field. So shifting a little bit towards the IT sector, and I think it's also, as I said, very true for that field. We need the role models, and what I think is a pity is that there are many really good, really successful women, but we too often only look on the successful men. So one example, it's not an example from nowadays, but maybe a little bit historic, but I think it's really, it's a good one. It's Ada Lovelace. I don't know if many have heard about her, but she was an English mathematician and the first programmer worldwide. So she's not really famous, unfortunate, but I think it shows us that there are, of course, nowadays, as it was also in the past, more women as we expect, and we really have to put I would say, a better focus on them. And talking about maybe the combination of both, so who's doing digital politics in Germany, we also have a lot of female role models. For example, Rabea, she is states or in the states or in the Chancellery States Ministry for a digital transformation, and I think we need more of them. So finally, first point is more role models. And second point, maybe I want to say for the beginning is, of course, we also have to take a closer look into technology. And I am really, really taking a lot of my political action or my political doing about AI, artificial intelligence. And we have there in that field a lot of, I would say, discussions about bias, also about discrimination. And I would say, I believe that in the end, technology can do better than we can do as people. Also, when we're talking about discrimination, but we have to make sure that it will be better. So for example, if we talk about personal recruitment or talent acquisition, we often see that data that are used in AI that are historic data. And there's, of course, often a bias seeing that there are a lot of male data sets and not female data sets. So we have to take care about data sets. The data sets are not that they are balanced between between genders. And even more, of course, we need diverse study programs and diverse teams. So that might be the last point for the beginning. We see that in Germany, but also I think in many countries all over the world, that the study programs are not very diverse. In Germany, I think it has to start at the beginning. So for children, also there we need, again, more role models. We need more young women and more girls that are interested in IT. And now we see that finally in study programs about computer science, IT, we only have an amount of 70% of women studying in that area, and that is quite too low. And maybe we can learn from other countries. I just read that, for example, in India, but also in other countries, the amount is much, much higher than in Germany. And we really have to learn from them, because I'm quite sure women can do at least as well as men can. And therefore, we need to change something in our minds, especially in Germany, when it comes to the question, who decides to study computer science, who decides to go that way or that career.
Thank you very much, Ronja. We had that subject indeed before, and it's has probably something to do with the STEM subjects not being as appealing in Europe, or at least Germany, than it is out in Asia, because the numbers are indeed strikingly different. I've also asked the fellow panelists, as much as myself, how much parents can actually do and contribute to this. We leave it all to the school, but actually it's also our guidance to steer the kids into the right direction. Having you here, I want to ask you, I want to move a bit away from the technology question, and want to ask you, because this conference is about leaders, also leading with grit and grace, and that indeed has something to do with being a politician. What, in your opinion, can be done to enable women or to help them to overcome the obvious obstacles there are? And name a few, please, that we have so few, and this goes for all over the world, so few female parliamentarians. What is standing in the way of them, and what hinders them to become political leaders?
I think a lot of that is about self-confidence. So it's not that we are missing women willing to, as I said before, to participate, also to be a part of the political system. But in the end, it needs, of course, a lot of self-confidence. It needs also to stand against some men that are often there, not being more able, but being more self-confident, standing there and saying, okay, I can do that job, even though they, as I said before, they are not automatically doing better. So what I learned also now in times of Corona, and when we maybe again take a little view about technology, is that technology, at least in the digital field, it can help. So maybe if we see in school, many teachers told me that standing in front of a crowd or people or classmates, many maybe young girls, they are not that self-confident. But now, as they have to use digital tools, for them it's easier, because they feel, okay, I don't have to be so afraid talking in front of the others. I can do it in a digital tool. So that maybe in some ways was a little boost, I would say. But of course it goes deeper, and it's a really tough question, how to create more self-confidence. Unfortunately, I think we don't have like the one recipe how it could go well, but there are many little steps we can promote, we can support women, and that really has to start, as I said before, in a young age, because at least in Germany, again, talking about role models, I would say until the age maybe of, something like 8 or 10, girls and boys doing quite equal in many fields, but then it really starts, okay, that is more field for boys, that is more field for girls. So we have different programs, for example, the so-called House for Little Scientists, and their approach is really to promote both girls and boys in scientific fields, in computer science as well. And it goes further with a special so-called Girls' Day, where girls in the age, I think between something like 10 and 15, They make a little internship in so-called boy jobs or boys areas, as well as I said, computer science or other fields. So we have to really promote that, I would say, even more. And then talking about politics and going further, as I said before, I think we need a quota. We need also better networking. I think men are a little bit maybe better in that than we are as women. We too often maybe only look, okay, is what I do, is this enough? Am I performing well? We are often in that fields, we are really critical with ourselves as well. And maybe we don't see enough that it's not only about how the job is done. Of course, that is important, but it is also at least as important how to connect, how to build up a network. And I think there we really have to, I would say, promote women better and support them more, because they are, of course, able to build up networks as well. But often the awareness that it is important is missing, I would say.
Very much, Corey. Thank you very much. I saw Mouna nodding heavily with that word confidence, and I think that relates also to your work, Mouna. How to boost the confidence of your fellow platform users to found an SME. What courage does it take, and how can we help that? And does technology help this now? This founding mentality that is usually lower with women than it is with men.
Yes, I was nodding because Ronja is really right in terms of, us women being critical with ourselves, and the self-confidence, as I spoke before, is something that really needs to be addressed among women entrepreneurs as well, not only among leaders and politicians. So it seems to be always the imposter syndrome, and that's, in my view, coming from, of course, upbringing, from social, societal expectations. And a simple fact is also we are too, outnumbered by male, heavily male-dominated environments, be it in business or in politics. In terms of entrepreneurships and SMEs, what is really working, and we've been doing also lots of research and gathering data on technical assistance and support for women entrepreneurs. So there is an overlap with a very typical support for SMEs and entrepreneurs, because it's hard running a business and growing it and scaling it and keeping it profitable and sustainable is a very hard thing to do, but it's even harder for women to do so. So one of the things that we're adding to technical assistance and support, be it on an online platform or also in physical training and programs, is to add in leadership and executive coaching and confidence building. There is actually some of the modules that we're running are called confidence building. So Ronja, very, very good point there. And it always comes down to being confident about what we do. And that self-confidence can help women become, a little bit more aggressive, I would say, in a good way, in terms of networking, in terms of being less of maybe perfectionist and collaborate and have more collaborative approach, delegate a little bit more, and all of that takes a lot of self-assurance and confidence to get it done. So yeah.
Mouna, maybe you can share a few, looking at the time, a few most important of your recommendations that you had.
Okay, so yes, for the recommendations, of course, we're very excited to launch the research at the beginning of the year that we've done with CAS, because there we have really, it's a 200 30 pages report for 4 countries. So there you can see more detailed recommendations. But in the research that we've done about women-owned businesses, there are 2 types of recommendations that we came up with for policymakers and for professional associations, because most of the SMEs, they are still going the traditional way to connect and network and seek support among professional associations, be it construction, be it manufacturing, be it just women entrepreneurs mentoring each other. It seems to be in Southeast Asia, at least, a very, very important mechanism to support women. And so I think we're running out of time for me to go through all the recommendations, but let me just share one about financing for policymakers. So I think in the region, government can regulate and increase the amount of financing that is flowing to women-owned businesses, such as loans or equity financing through funds that would invest in gender lens. I think the government can work a lot more with the FIs and with non-government organizations in order to focus more on gender lens investing. So that's one of the many recommendations. Thank you for giving me the last few minutes to explain that.
Thank you very much. We're not at the end yet. I want to hear all 3 of you again, of course. Maybe Nina, you touching in your very last sentence, your very last brief statement on the digital gap, on the equality gap that we have. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we already mentioned a lot of things, and especially in terms of networking, role models. There is another very important thing, which is also mentoring programs, and actually that women don't just, one thing that maybe also if politics and also the economy can do is really making campaigns and showing women and really, yeah, publicly show that there are women in tech and that there are very successful women in tech. But then on the other hand, also inside institutions, it's quite effective to, for example, have mentoring programs where women who are already more, who are already further in their job actually take the mentorship and actually bring other women forward as well, and actually provide support for women careers, because I guess, yeah, only if women also support each other in this field, and this is also something that often is described, that men are more supportive with each other and women are maybe a bit more competitive in some reasons when it's about the career. And I think this is something quite important, that also women need to sponsor each other and bring each other forward.
Ronja, I think this is something that goes for politicians just as well. You know, not just building a better network, but maybe fostering more support. What do you say?
Yes, of course. Oh, sorry, I totally agree. And yeah, as it was said before, I think first of all, we need a better, not only maybe for women and for men, better culture of failure, but this is true for entrepreneurs, but even more for women. As it was said before, we're a little bit often too perfectionists or too critical with ourselves. And I think we really have to learn that it's okay to make mistakes. If you take responsibility, no matter in which field, you make mistakes. And taking away maybe a little bit the fear of making mistakes, I think this is something really essential, and we have to promote that. As well as it was said before, the access to education, especially promoting girls and women to decide to go for a tech job, a tech career. I think there's a lot more to do, especially, as I said before, at least in Germany and in Europe. And finally, maybe talking about politics, as I said before, it will not be enough, I guess, to just promote, but we need more tough or hard instruments, as the quota, as role models are very crucial, and it's about who's making the decisions. And of course, therefore, we also need women that are also in political responsibility. So therefore, there's a lot more to do. And yeah, thank you really much again for having us today and for having this discussion.
Thank you very much. That was it was a perfect closing from you, Ronja. Thank you very much, ladies, for your inputs. I'll take away confidence, I take away quota, I take away education, diversifying our skills and supporting each other careers. And I think this is really what it takes to help us to lead with grit and grace. So to come back to the motto of our conference, I think I'm closing on time, so we all did a wonderful job. And I'm sure your views, your insight were much appreciated. And a warm thank you again. It was a pleasure to moderate you and a pleasure to see you with you. So stick on and maybe go on to the next session. And I hand back over to our moderator, to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabea, and thank you everyone for a wonderful session. And I think Rabea has concluded it quite well. I will request the audience for a minute to just remind everybody we have wonderful one-on-one mentorship sessions, which you can block on the platform. You do remember the leaderboard, you remember the polls that you can do, our social media hashtags that are currently live. Please do send us your short story for the prizes. And yes, please do participate. And I will request the audience to end this session and go on to the next session. You will have my co-host Aparna waiting for you there. And for this one, thanks, Rabea. Thank you, everyone else. And thank you, Member of Parliament, for coming, even though you were running late, which is very, very kind of you. So thank you very much, Ronja.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Alles Gute, Ronja.
Danke. Ja, tschüss.